Hello and welcome back to the My Journey podcast with me, Matt Johnson, and my co-host, Tom Scott.
Hi everyone, I hope you're all doing alright out there. So Matt, what have you been up to? How are you doing?
Yeah, good thanks. Still seem to be plugging away in this isolation and lockdown. It's still nothing much has really changed, to be honest. I don't know about yourself.
No, honestly, I mean, all I've been concentrating on is my steps really this month, trying to get 300,000 in.
Oh, very nice. That's a good target to have.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
No, it's for me. It's like I don't think there's been many updates from a business point of view really since the last time we spoke. There's only one thing, which is a new project which I'm launching, but I'm going to save that for the end of the pod. So yeah, there's not really too much from my point of view. I've got a couple of speaking gigs coming up. Hopefully, one or two just tentatively booked in at the moment, just trying to nail down a date, but that's quite good. Be interesting to do virtual speaking gigs, see how that works compared to face to face, because obviously I think it'll be a bit harder to do the interactivity side of it. But
it'll definitely be interesting to see it though.
Yeah. I think because I've not really done it. I'll have done a couple by the time I get to the first paid one. I'm going to practice a few on my through my own networks and stuff like that. But actually to do a webinar online and see how it all works, and I can stand at the front of a classroom, but or a theatre or whatever, and you kind of get that reaction from people. You can gauge how it's going, but I don't know how you'll gauge how it's going when everyone's muted, sat behind the screen.
Definitely be a new challenge, that.
Yeah, and obviously last week sent out the newsletter, which quite a few people have signed up to now. But yeah, that's about it. Have you anything work-wise for you that's cropped up in the last week and a half since we last recorded?
No, I've just been flat out really. Spent my time listening back to last week's pod, which I do for anyone else that's listening from last week's. The questions that we went through at the end.
Oh yeah,
I've been kicking myself because the quickfire answer that I gave for which business would I like to run for 24 hours or something along the lines.
Yeah, was it?
My answer was complete. Yeah, my answer was completely wrong. Completely wrong. I'd love to own some form of cinema chain.
All right.
There's two big changes that I want to make. One, I just want to see, and KFC have done this recently, with their 8-piece popcorn chicken bucket.
Oh, yeah.
Pick one of them up when you go into the cinema. Just have it there as an option. Eat that while you're watching your film. I'd love to see that.
I'll tell you what, I'd go to the cinema a lot more often if KFC was in there.
I just think it's such a good idea. It's just there. It's just there for you. And the other one, I'm not too sure on the fine print of this or the actual details of how it would run, but cinemas in airports. So you turn up a little bit earlier, but instead of having to kill any time or whatever, you can just sit back, watch your film.
Yeah, that's a cool idea.
Yeah, I just don't know how that would work, but that's something I've always liked to see.
I find it interesting because cinemas are already known for being quite expensive, and then everything within an airport is expensive. So how expensive would a cinema within an airport be? It'd be ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, I know what you mean. Then people who like to get there early and go for a few drinks or whatever instead could go watch the latest releases or whatever. I know because I've done the Dutch Dash across on the P&O ferries, and obviously there's the cinema on there. That's good.
Yeah, something like that. Just something a bit different.
Yeah, definitely. No, that's good. And I put them questions out on my social media and posted them to a few people I've been speaking to. And it's quite interesting to hear different people's reactions. But Monopoly has come up quite a lot for board game. So we're on the right track with that one.
Yeah, I've had a few people that have listened that have come back to me and said that we should have a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, no, it's good. We definitely get once we're out of this, get together and have a Monopoly night for sure. I don't know if you could turn that into a podcast. I'm not sure, but
give it a go.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But yeah, no, if that's everything we've been up to, then we'll get into the next section of the podcast. So this week again, we're going to randomly generate a topic from the long list. As ever, if you want to add to the list, let me know at the MJ Social and we'll get a topic added. So yeah, here goes. Randomly generating the number. And that is personal development. the bit that we've got written down next to this is how we develop as individuals. This is quite an interesting one, especially at the moment as well, I think, because there's quite a lot of talk on social media and stuff about this is an opportunity to develop new skills, new hobbies, things like that. So it would be quite interesting to talk through that and how maybe we both approach personal development. I know obviously you work for an organisation. Is there anything there that they offer in terms of training courses, qualifications, that kind of thing, to help you with your personal development, Tom?
There's all sorts. I mean, currently I'm on my apprenticeship for my accountancy, so that's pretty much covering a lot of what I do day to day.
Yeah.
But no, within that as well, we submit all our personal development logs basically every few months. So we're actively making a note of what we are doing. So we're just forever searching that. But because of the type of organisation as well, there's all different things that we have to be keeping up on top of, and alongside my apprenticeship as well. There's not just the accounting side of it. There's a few other bits that come with it. But no, because I'm still kind of new to the role in respects of years of experience doing it. I'm forever learning new things.
Yeah.
I'd say one big thing is Excel. I use Excel every day. So if I'm doing something new, I'll either have to play around with it for a bit, or I'll be searching some YouTube videos or something like that and searching on, seeing what's going on, really.
So would you say YouTube's quite a good tool in terms of personal development and learning new skills for yourself?
I would, yeah, actually, I would in general, to be fair, purely because there's so much out there now. And that ability to be able to watch how someone's doing it and then hear them explaining it with potentially some instructions along the way. Because I find there's only so much you can find from a guide. And if there's a guide even if it has screenshots in it, sometimes there's that slight disconnect between where you need to go for the next thing, if it's something along that lines of learning it. So if there's a video, but yeah, there's tons of how-tos and best practices and all sorts of things on YouTube.
I think with YouTube as well, like that from my experience, is being specific in what you're looking for. Like if I wanted to learn how to do graphic design, if I just put in learn how to become a graphic designer on YouTube, there'd be so many long videos or specific videos that you wouldn't know where to start. Whereas if you've got a set part of graphic design or something like that that you want to learn, that's where it comes into its own, because you can literally Google search for on YouTube a specific thing. So let's say you're using InDesign and there's a specific function that you want to do or a specific outcome. You can search for how to do XYZ on InDesign, and then it's going to bring up better, more targeted results for you.
Yeah, it's also good with the public playlist feature that they have on there, because a lot of people, especially if other people have tried to find the same thing as you, especially if it's a bigger project, will piece together like the videos in the order that you need to be watching through them.
Yeah, definitely. Is there anything else you do? Is it most of your stuff online? Obviously, you're at a bit of an advantage because depending on how you look at it, but your company is a training provider, so obviously they've got access to training courses like your apprenticeship and stuff like that. But is there anything you do like in your spare time for yourself that's maybe not even anything to do with work?
Always trying to find a new challenge, always trying to push myself in a different way. As I mentioned earlier, doing the steps so far, but either with just running or been going to the gym recently, start of the year, just little things like that. I love, I don't know, I suppose a lot of stuff I do as well is based around like the film industry or TV. So, not just knowing about them, but when there's little things within that. So you pick up different facts and stuff. Like honestly, if you need someone for general knowledge on a quiz team, hit me up, because I know the most randomest of things ever. But no, that's probably what I would do. More for my personal development. It's more looking at a challenge more compared to something that I want to accomplish, if that makes sense.
I find it really hard to just sit down and learn something. I think there needs to be an outcome that I'm aiming for. So like at one point I started doing loads of videos for my personal brand. So I did a lot of research around like how to do video editing and things like that, and I got like a very basic understanding. But I've toyed with doing like Google Ads and stuff in the past for my own website, but until I actually sat down and did Google Ads, I didn't watch any. I'd go and search for the videos, and then I'd end up watching something else because I wasn't going to do the Google Ads at that point in time, and I
Yeah,
knew that. So I need like an outcome to work towards, so that I can say this is what I've learned and this is what it produced. And I think that's like you're saying, like a bit of a challenge almost. I've thought about during this lockdown of just to try and freshen things up and keep things interesting to like do like a 24-hour challenge of some form.
yeah,
I don't know whether that's going to be business or physical or it could be anything, but just say like I wake up like 7 o'clock one morning and just I've got until 7 o'clock the next morning to start a business. You know, something crazy like that.
something like that. Yeah,
But that would teach me so much because within that period I would go out and learn the skills I need to learn within that period. But for me to sit here now and learn something for that challenge that may or may not happen, I probably wouldn't do it.
yeah.
So I think
No,
definitely you're on something with the challenges there.
no. I was gonna say if you are wanting to do that 24-hour thing, I have something bubbling away in the background. We have to speak a bit later on about that.
All right, okay, yeah,
Uh,
yeah, definitely.
I'll
I'll
have to,
drop you a
have to have a
message.
look at that. Yeah. But no, one thing I will say as well, especially with everything going on at the minute, as you were saying, I was having this conversation with someone the other day, actually, they'll know who they are when they listen in, about hobbies. Like the fact that now that a lot of people are just at home, I think it's highlighting how much people maybe don't have a hobby or haven't picked up a hobby in a while.
Yeah, I,
As in like your standard type hobby.
yeah, I know what you mean. I've always said that like I've not really got like one area that's like an interest or a hobby.
Yeah,
We're honestly, this is absolutely crazy. We were just at tea, having tea before this recording, and we were discussing this in terms of like what's our skill or what's our passion or whatever. And that, like growing up, people are into cars or people are into football, and like I like my football, but I couldn't name you anybody who plays for a second division team that's not the one I support. You know what I mean? Like I'm not that
yeah,
kind of level of interest in football. I can't tell you where certain teams are in the Premiership, even like. But I do. I'll watch it when it's on, and I enjoy going to Hull City. I'm not into. I like my cars. I can tell you what most cars are, but I'm not into them. I can't tell you the brake horsepower or anything. You know what I mean? Like I'm not. I always think like when Top Trumps used to be about, which
yeah.
set of Top Trumps did I want? There weren't really any. Like I would just play Top Trumps because it was Top Trumps. I wasn't bothered
Yeah,
what the set was.
what
Whereas I
set
know
was,
people,
yeah.
yeah, but there's certain people like they knew the car set of Top Trumps off by heart, and that like that kind of thing.
Yeah,
Um, and I think that really does help when, especially if you've got something like say it's that challenge, that outcome, but tying in what you're learning, your personal development into a hobby makes it enjoyable then as well.
makes
Um,
it enjoyable. It makes it so much easier as well.
yeah, and I think like you say now during lockdown, if you don't have a hobby, um, you might struggle a bit more in terms of, especially if you've been furloughed or whatever and you've not got the work. If you've not got anything to do, if you've not got a hobby, it must be really hard to like fill your day with stuff to do.
Yeah, but it's one of the things as well. It's that balancing because how much of a hobby can you do to fill your entire day?
Yes. Yeah. Before it becomes a chore as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But back on the personal development side of stuff, I'd
Yeah.
imagine you've learned a ridiculous amount over the past couple of years.
And I think that's the thing, like with me, um, I've never really thought on doing personal development, but like you say, yeah, the amount I've had to learn in terms of accountancy or, different things like how to start a business, all the different legalities and little things like that. It is incredible, like my communication skills. But I think as well, like I've always said, this podcast has helped me loads, and like I did that for a bit of fun at the start, like,
Yeah,
but like that was personal development. It's like we're saying, it was tied into something, so I didn't realize I was doing it. But I've recently, very recently, and you will know this because you were there when I received this, but a good friend of ours gave me a book for my birthday, and I've struggled to read. I nearly every year for Christmas or whatever, I've asked for a book. Oh, I want that book, and I probably read 10, 15 pages of it, and then it goes on the bookshelf, and I never look at it again.
yeah,
but during this one was kind of floating around. I'd read little bits of it, kind of seen little parts of it. And then during lockdown, I've decided I'm going to read every lunchtime. I'm going to sit down and read a section. And I've ended up reading probably 2 or 3 sections a day. Because it's Tim Ferriss book. So it's parts of interviews with people. So you can literally sit down and read one person's little bit of an interview. It's about 3 or 4 pages. So it's not much.
Yeah.
But by doing that, I've started reading more because I started to enjoy it. But the amount I am learning from that and starting to think about and implement, and that is basically the whole book is about personal development. That's why I did it to the long list. But it's incredible how everybody's version of personal development and their routines and their way of doing it is completely different. And the one thing I'm getting from this book, like, he's speaking to like the most successful people in the world, and like, there's no right way to do it. And I think through social media, you're led to believe that there is a right or a wrong way to develop or to become the best. And there isn't. Some of them get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and do yoga and go for a run. And then others get up and have like a big breakfast at 9 o'clock and will do certain things. And one thing, and I think it's just about finding what you like. And some of the stuff that I'm finding that I like that they're putting forward is like generating ideas. And there's loads of different ways I've read about, but one that I read about today was literally like, you give yourself a topic and you write 10 ideas for it, whether they're good, bad, or indifferent. You just write 10 ideas. And it could be businesses, but it could also be like films that you could make in your house because you're in lockdown. Or you just change the topic every day and you write down 10 ideas, and it gets your creative thinking going first thing in the morning. And I think it's seeing what other people have done and just trying and testing when it comes to personal development. Because I think the best way to develop is to do it when you don't realise you're doing it. Because like you say, you learn lots and just jumping onto YouTube, and like you've got your challenges and what have you, like with your physical challenge, your steps. Actually, the amount that will come out of that's not just about getting the number of steps, like the mental well-being and stuff like that. They're the things that are actually the benefits of doing what you're doing. It's not the actual number of steps. And I think if you can make it, there's a lot of talk about gamification. I think like probably about a year ago now, it was quite a hot topic. But gamification is true with everything. If you can turn it into a game or some kind of challenge or leaderboard or whatever, it then becomes a lot more enjoyable and potentially addictive in the right ways.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, you've got personal development. It's about building habits and doing them for the long term. And there's no point, like, I could go and read about a certain topic now. I could go and read a book on accountancy, but if I never implement any of that stuff for the next 6 months, it was probably pointless because I probably won't remember it after that.
You'll probably forget it, yeah.
Yeah, so as long as you're implementing it. But another thing that I did read, which is quite interesting, I listened to another podcast, the Business Over Beers podcast, which is a great podcast if anyone's looking for any more to listen to. They basically said on there that if you read 3 books on any topic, you know more than 90% of the population on that specific topic. So you think about personal development and you think, I want to learn more about search engine optimization. You don't actually have to do that much work to know more than the majority of people.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you want to be the top 1% or the top 0.5%, you've got to do a hell of a lot of work and commit. But actually, to be very knowledgeable in an area, you only need to read 3 books, is basically what they're saying, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, it's a very interesting concept. Now, one thing I like about the challenges for it, where you were just saying there, where if you haven't implemented it for about 6 months or so, you're probably going to forget about it. Whereas with the challenges, what I like most about it is once you've done it, you know you can do it.
Yes, and it gives you something to remember.
Yeah, it does. Like, I'd probably bore people the amount of times I bang on about when I did them 10Ks every day through August a few years ago.
I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, I go on about it way too much. But the thing is, I now know I can do it.
Yeah.
Like, I know I had to train for it, but I know what type of training I need to do to get back to how to do that. And I knew exactly how I felt after it. I knew what I needed to eat. I knew who I could call up to come on a run with me to keep it entertaining. All them little things that you get from it. But it is that whole thing now of every day, if I was to get up now, look outside and it's drizzling a bit, and I knew I needed to go for a 5K run or something, I'd try and talk myself out of it, but then I'd remember, well, no, because you've done 10Ks in the pouring rain. Like,
Yeah.
you've already achieved it. You can go out and do it. This is going to be easier.
And it's interesting what you said there about like the eat, what you need to eat and stuff like that. If you think about the beginning of that challenge, if you just set out on a challenge to eat a bit healthier, you'd have probably given up. But actually, when you're running that much, that every day, you need to learn how to fuel, how to
Yeah,
take that stuff on. And now, if you ever thought, oh, I want to trim down for an event, or I want to go and take on this competition or whatever sporting competition, you now know how to eat properly in the lead up to that event. But that wasn't what you were doing it for. You were doing it to run 10K every day, you know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's the kind of stuff that I think personal development is quite an interesting term, and can scare a lot of people. I think it can be seen as quite a boring topic. It does sound like I started off by asking about qualifications for yourself, but I think that's what a lot of people think of. But I think it encompasses anything that betters you as a person, whether that's mentally, in terms of knowledge, or physically, or whatever it might be. If you feel better as a result of it, then that is personal development.
yeah. Oh, too right. Yeah, it's also one little thing that's on it is just looking at, say, if you're doing it with regards to you wanting to start a new job, but you need to develop in an area so you can get to a certain position. Sometimes when you look at that, that can be quite a daunting task. But
Yeah.
it's doing that bit of research beforehand, finding out how you're going to get from A to B, all the steps in between, but then actually making them steps.
Yes,
Like
definitely.
one little bit at a time, using all the resources around you. Go at it that way. So even though it feels like it's going to be a huge thing, in a year's time you could already be there. And it could be one of the things is if you don't do it for a year, by the time you get there, you could look back and go, that's the full year I've just wasted. Where if I'd done it, I would be there by now.
Yeah, so I think sometimes as well, like having someone alongside you, not necessarily doing the same thing, because it might not be exactly right for them to do the same challenge or the same development, but somebody who's doing something similar alongside you that can, then you're not doing it on your own in isolation as well.
Yeah,
I think that can really help. Like you say about my business journey and stuff like that, having been in a co-working space and around other freelancers, that's really helped, because although they're not in my business, they're not doing the same development as me, we are all developing in the same field of business. Um, and having people to bounce ideas off, and they come to me because I've done certain things, and I go to them because they've been through certain things, and that kind of community and then people around you can really help. So yeah, I think we've definitely, hopefully, helped people a bit there with in terms of our views on personal development and giving them some ideas of how they can succeed with that topic going forward.
yeah, and hopefully as well, people can get in touch with us and let us know what sort of things they do for the personal development. If they use challenges, if they have to just find something on YouTube, whatever it is that works for them, because that might then also help someone else as well.
Well, yeah, as well. Like, I'd love to hear how other people do it, because I'm always looking for new ways. If there's any challenges people have done themselves or things that'd be great to hear, we might be able to implement them in our own lives. So in this final section, I'm just going to talk a little bit about a new project that I'm launching on officially on Friday the 1st of May. But this podcast should be going out before then. So if you're listening before Friday the 1st of May, you're getting an exclusive. You're hearing this before anybody else. I'm launching a new project called Social Media Club, which is kind of being described as a networking / accountability group. But if you've got any preconceptions about them kind of things, I'm doing this completely fresh. It's not like anything else I've seen before in terms of them two terms. But basically, this is going to be online. It's going to be digital. Probably going to be in a Facebook group. But I'm just looking at potential different ways we can host this. And what it is every month I'm going to give away a top tip, a mini lesson, which will be about 15 minutes long. And it will hopefully teach you something new that you can try and implement with your own social media. There'll then be a leaderboard where you will input your statistics, your analytics for a set period of time, and we will measure you against other people. Now, don't worry if you haven't got a huge following, because it'll all be percentage based. So if you've already got 1,000 followers and someone else has got 10,000 followers, or you've only got 10 followers, it doesn't matter. It'll all be percentage based. So it's about you competing with yourself, but also a wider community. There'll also be homework tasks, which will link to the mini lesson, where you will have a topic or a task to implement over the month. And then we'll also be providing best practice examples around the topics we're discussing, as well as ongoing social media news and insight. So anything I see that pops up in the news that I think is useful to the community will be shared within this community. And it's going to be closed. It's only for certain people who've paid for the privilege. And also this community will be a community. There will be lots of help and advice flying around between the members, hopefully. Ask questions, answer each other's questions, solve each other's problems, chat to each other. You never know, you might get a little bit of business out of it, but it's not there for you going to plug your business. It's simply there for you to learn how to use social media in an effective way. Now, this is all going to be spoken about in more detail and launched officially as of the 18th of May. So it's only an announcement on Friday, same as what I'm telling you here about what it is, but there'll be more details about how to get involved in a free webinar called Introduction to Social Media for Business, which is happening on Monday, the 18th of May. If you go to my social media at the MJ Social, from Friday onwards, I'll be sharing a link to book yourself onto that free webinar. That will probably be held through Zoom, and you can join, and you will learn about the core features that are most useful to businesses of the main platforms, so Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. We'll cover the other platforms a little bit, but mainly about them, and then I'll go into much more detail about how you can actually get involved in Social Media Club. But yeah, that's what it is. That's how it's going to work. It's going to be online. It's something I've had in planning for a few months, but with the circumstances, it's just come at a perfect time for people. I think people are really embracing like this online way of communicating and getting involved in Zoom sessions that they probably wouldn't have done before. So it just seems like the perfect time to launch it. And the prices will start from £15 per month per person. So yeah, that's Social Media Club. Tom, obviously I've given you a little bit of information ahead of this, but that's obviously me speaking about in a bit more detail. What's your thoughts on that one?
That definitely sounds interesting. Definitely sounds like it could quite help a lot of people, especially if there's just them little bits as well. I quite like that you added with, if you're adding little bits of news in there, because even if you're just giving someone that little update, even that might spark a bit of a conversation. So someone else could jump in on that with their thoughts, and hopefully people can start getting some ideas from there. No, I definitely like the sound of it.
It's crazy how many changes there are in social media. Like every day, one of the platforms will announce some new feature or change something or announce some kind of stat that's really interesting. And yeah, this will all be discussed within this group. And I've got a few other little additions as well that I want to add on in the future, but for now I'm keeping them under wraps. I'll announce them probably further down the line once the group's kind of established a little bit. But yeah, once the landscape kind of changes a bit and we're able to get back out and about, there might be a physical element to it. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's just, the idea is that it's just a community where people can come together, they learn something, and there's some accountability there in terms of leaderboards. That's one thing I was hearing was, you know, like you say, we can all go online and look at social media, how to do certain things of social media or whatever. But if you don't know what you're looking for, which is one of the things I mentioned earlier in terms of, if you don't know what it is you want to learn, if you just put in how to do social media, you know, loads is going to come up. But yeah, I'm going to give you specific tips in different areas, and I'm going to take feedback from the audience in terms of what they want to learn about as well. But also the leaderboard adds that little bit of accountability in terms of you've got to put your stats in, so you're going to do the work each week, each month, hopefully. But yeah, that's Social Media Club in a nutshell. Is there anything else you think I should be telling the world about this, Tom, off the top of your head?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but if there is, I'll definitely let you know before Friday.
No, that's fine. That's good. So yeah, if anyone's interested in that and wants to find out, wants me to send them the link directly, if you listen to this before Friday, then just drop me a message at the MJ Social, and I'll make sure that on Friday you get the link to sign up to the webinar. hopefully it's going to be a popular webinar with it being free and what have you. But we should be able to manage capacity. It shouldn't sell out based on what of the package I should be using on Zoom. So yeah, I think that's everything from me this week. Is there anything else you wanted to discuss, Tom?
No, that's it for me as well.
Right. Thank you everyone for listening. Until next time, keep safe and we hope you have a great week.